Alright, so this is definitely happening. Everybody grab your popcorn because more than likely this is going to be a huge disaster. What is up, my literary fans and gents? It is your girl Deja, and I am back with a brand new video on my channel. So if you guys saw the video that I posted right before this one, you guys already know what this is. You guys have already prepared yourself for it. I have kind of prepared myself for it, but like I said, it's happening whether or not I want it to or not. So for today's video, I'm going to be doing my very first book review on Claire Kann's Let's Talk About Love. And just a side note before we get started, yes, I did make myself post myself note cards, because if not, I'm going to go off on like 50,000 tangents and I'm probably going to forget what I want to say because I'm nervous, alright? So ignore my cards, I need them. You know what? I have tried to do a synopsis off the top of my head, but like I told you guys, I'm nervous. So I'm just gonna, oh, okay, almost dropped the book. I'm just gonna read the little synopsis thing on the inside here, okay? Alice had her whole summer planned. Non-stop, all-you-can-eat buffets while marathoning her favorite TV shows, Best Friends totally included, with the smallest dash of adulting, working at the library to pay her share of the rent. The only thing missing from her perfect plan? Her girlfriend, who she totally does not miss at all. After their nasty breakup, Alice swore off dating. No thank you, do not pass go, stick a fork in her, done. But then Alice experiences instant attraction to her new coworker Takumi, which is a problem because Alice is 100% sure she's asexual, and her relationship with her best friends totally falling apart. As her perfect summer gets shot straight to hell and Takumi becomes her unexpected but amazing ally in all things, Alice has to decide, will she keep her secret or risk telling him how she feels? So right off the bat, I gave this book 4 out of 5 stars. I did really enjoy it. I did think that the asexual representation was really accurate in this. And that's another thing, I'm not going to be holding up the book the entire time because I have to hold my note cards, so this review is already turning into a mess. Jesus on the main line, but you know what? We're gonna get through it. Like I said, I gave this book 4 out of 5 stars. There were a couple of things I didn't really necessarily like how the book approached, but overall, I thought that the representation of asexuality was really accurate. And this is coming from somebody who is asexual herself. I thought that it was a really good representation, and it was interesting to see this depicted in a book. And I actually really enjoyed it. Even the second time reading it, I was still happy and giddy at the same parts that I was happy and giddy about in the first place. So one of the things that I really like about this book is the fact that it touches on the difference between romantic and sexual attraction, as well as how people kind of deal with that, as well as trying to explain it, as well as somebody who identifies as being asexual, or somebody who kind of deals with one of the more ambiguous sexualities, how they kind of fit within the LGBTQ plus community, and how that could lead to some type of ostracization, because it's possible, because you know, kind of like with people who are bisexual, like if you are a bisexual male but you feel like dating a female, most people would look at you and be like, oh, they're heterosexual. It's like, no, I like both boys and girls. Just because I'm not dating a guy right now does not mean that I'm not representing my bisexuality right now. So I like the fact that they actually touched on how asexuality kind of fits into that spectrum, and how some people would think, well, you don't have a sexual orientation at all, so why are you kind of, you know, presenting yourself as such? So I like the fact that they did touch on that. It was really interesting, and I did appreciate that conversation that they brought up. Another thing that they brought up that I really don't actually see in a lot of YA literature, and I'm 99% sure that this is a new adult novel because it is based in college, is the depiction of people of color as well as them being queer in some type of way. Because even now, because BookTube was really good about diversification and representation, and so that's something that I really want to start looking for a lot more in books. People outside the spectrum of white being depicted as queer. This book also really touches on the aspects of what it means to kind of grow up and how that affects your relationships, especially with friendships. As you grow older and you all start going your different ways, or you all have different plans, how that affects the dynamic of the relationships, how that affects the amount of time that you spend, how that deals with communication. And there's a lot of really good themes and central storylines that are going on in this book, and they were all pretty much really fleshed out for the most part. Overall, I thought this was a great read. Like I said, I really enjoyed it. It was good. But that is it for the spoiler-free part of this review. I am going to go into a more in-depth spoilery part. So if you guys have not read the book, I will see you guys later, and I definitely recommend that you guys go pick this up. So bye. So for those of you that have read the book and you are sticking around to watch the extended, more in-depth part of my review, I'm just going to jump straight into that by first talking about the characters. The first character I want to talk about is Ryan. One of the things that I've noticed within like books is that they really don't touch on like religion, or they really don't specifically say whether somebody is a specific religion or not, unless that's just part of one of the things that makes the character or is one of the plot points of the book. And I'm 99.9% sure that Ryan is Christian, because he does say that he goes to church, and he does drop a lot of like wisdom, or yeah, I guess you can call it wisdom, or words or phrases that I mostly hear come from like my parents, or things that I use in everyday life. And I really like the fact that they kind of like use that, how he uses like his religious background and how he kind of like integrates it into his everyday life to kind of help out his friends with their problems, because I do the same thing. But overall, I thought that Ryan was a great character. I love the fact that he was a mediator between Feeny and Alice, and kind of how he fit into the dynamic of the two of them, even though that they had known each other significantly longer than they had known him. Speaking of Feeny, I really was on the fence about Feeny's character. I was totally like on the Feeny train at the beginning of the book, because she was an overprotective friend that would fight anybody, they mama, they brother, they sister, they grandma, and they dog, and they cat, if you were to insult Alice. It's just like, don't insult my bae, I will fight you. Because I was like that with my best friend when we were in high school, because I was just like, I don't appreciate any of you making fun of my friend, like, let's go. Who am I beating up today? Who am I throwing hands with? Right? So I totally identify with Feeny and being like super overprotective with your friend. Overall as a character, well actually overall for most of the characters, I'm gonna say that all of them are pretty flat. There is no big like difference from the beginning of the book to the end of the book, which was kind of where the book lost a star for me, or a part of that star for me, is that the fact that there was no dynamic change in their personalities. There was a change, so to speak, in how they were as a character, but they weren't, how do I explain this? Like, from the beginning of the book, Alice knew that she was asexual, and she knew that that was going to affect her relationship, and by the end of the book, she still knew that she was asexual, and that would affect her relationships, but she was a lot more accepting and a lot more analytical about how that affects her relationships. So she became more knowledgeable, but she didn't actually change as a person, and I don't think any of the characters actually did. And that was one of the things I kind of felt, like I said, I didn't really like about the book, was the fact that all the characters were pretty much flat. So moving on to Takumi, I actually had the most issues with his character than I had with any of the other characters. Takumi is what I would call one of those perfect reactionist characters, and that no matter how Alice feels, or no matter what she's doing or what she says, he has the perfect comeback, or he has the perfect thing to say to her and wish to mitigate the situation and kind of make it better and continue to make the plot go forward. So I actually really was irritated by that, because I was like, nobody is that perfect in real life. Nobody. I'm sorry if the camera's at a little bit of a different angle. My battery actually died, so I had to replace it and like reset everything back up. And I'm not gonna lie, I totally lost my train of thought. Takumi is what I would call a perfect reactionist character, and I don't really like those characters, because they feel like they're unrelatable. They kind of feel fake, and they don't really like attach to me as much. So while I did appreciate the relationship between Takumi and Alice, I did not necessarily like Takumi as a character, because like I said, just about everything that he said, everything that he did kind of further along the plot, and it was like a perfect response to like what she said. There is a minor part at the end of the book where he was just like, I kind of feel like you expect me to always have like the perfect response, or you expect me to be like this perfect person, and I'm really not. And I was like, yeah, but you kind of are. I was like, but you're just written that way, so it's not really your fault. So next is Dr. Burr. So I really appreciated the fact that Alice decided to go see a therapist, and kind of to see the perspective of somebody who is professionally does psychology and analyzes people, kind of see how that kind of affected how she analyzed herself. Because that was one of the things I really liked about how the plot worked out. Because she went from breaking up with Margaret to being like, oh, it's because I'm asexual, this is nothing new, to kind of seeing Takumi and being like, oh my gosh, like, am I experiencing sexual attraction, to her actually analyzing herself as well as how she feels about this, and kind of just like re-evaluating what she knows versus what she has felt versus what she experiences, and then finally at the end of the book coming to a brand new acceptance about herself, of course still accepting her asexuality, but as well as the fact that there are like parameters outside of what she depicts as norm that she can experience, and it's not just, you know, asexual, that's it. There's like a lot more to it than that. And then the last character that I had positive like vibes about is Adam, which is her older brother, right? He was not necessarily a really major character. I thought that he was like a nice filler character. I just thought that he was the little, like, if you were to take Ryan and you were to make him relate to Alice, that's Adam. And that was about the relevant as his character got. I was just kind of like, oh, okay, yeah, she has an older brother who's nice to her. For me, the most problematic characters were Ayesha, her parents, and Essie. Now, let me start with Essie because hers is really basic. I did not like how Essie was described. We get it. She's feminine, she's beautiful, and she looks like a giraffe. We got it. We can skip on to like different descriptions about her. I just thought that Essie's character, every time like they described her, it was kind of annoying, and I was like, we get it. She's beautiful. Moving on, I did not like Ayesha's character because it's like, you are her older sister, you're not her mother. I didn't like the fact that Ayesha nor her parents were being super overbearing in her life. And while I do realize that some parents do that, they're just like, I feel like this is something you should do if I'm going to pay for your college. This is what I want you to learn. And there are parents like that. But Ayesha and Alice's relationship kind of never like settled by the end of the book, at least with her parents by the end. Even though they were upset with the fact that she wanted to do interior design for college, they came to like a realization towards the end of the book, you know what, you can do whatever you want as long as you're happy. Hey, are you coming home for like the break? I want to meet this new boyfriend of yours. I like the fact that they concluded and they made up, and we kind of saw like a little short little after thing in the epilogue, while Ayesha just kind of fell off after her like argument with Alice. And I was like, that's it, we don't get no conclusion for Ayesha and Alice. So I kind of feel like that was a story plot that was kind of just let go in the air, and I was like, okay. So that is all I have for the characters. Now getting into like what I really like about analyzing with books, and that is the plot as well as the themes, mostly the themes. So one of the really big things besides Alice and her asexuality is relationships and how that changes over time and as you discover more things about yourself. For instance, the relationship between Ryan, Feeny, and Alice. I absolutely love the fact that they are so super close without it being written as being awkward, without it being written as being kind of like sexualized or any type of way. I really like that it's just a close friend relationship and that they can hang out with all three of them or in groups of two and it still be perfectly okay, right? So props to Kann for writing a great friendship between characters. I absolutely phenomenally loved it. Speaking of relationships, one of the things that is really touched upon in the book is the fact that as you get older and you start going your different ways, sometimes you do drift apart from your friends. There is a point in the book where they, like the part in the book where they started talking about how she felt like she was like on like the little sidecar while Ryan and Feeny were on the actual motorcycle with the motor, and she felt like she had no control over where she was going. She was just kind of stuck in the momentum of where people had left her going, and then she kind of was just like, you know what, I'm just gonna have to deal with this. So I did really like that and that distinction, because that is something that I feel like happens. It's like you get older and you and your friends start going your different ways, but it doesn't mean that you guys have to lose contact with each other. I also like that the fact that this book was like extremely, I think, mature. I wouldn't necessarily, this is why I didn't necessarily call it a YA novel. I think it's new adult, because they do very talk maturely, I just dropped my cards, and very intimately about relationships, about things like sex, things that are like can be interpreted as sex or like an intimate relationship, and kind of how, you know what, we're adults, we can talk about this, or you know what, I'm having this issue. They were very communicative after they got past like the whole like meet cute stage. I thought that that was great, because as adults, we should be able to communicate things with each other. We don't necessarily always do that as functionally as we should, but I like the fact that Kann did throw in there that Alice and Talk to Me by the end of the book were like, you know what, we'll get to the whole sex thing later. All I know is that I like you, you like me. These feelings are strong and they're passionate. We'll get to the aspect of sex later, and even if it's not like sex in like the traditional sense, like we can just work it out through communication. So that was like A+ for me, because oh my god, I was like, yes, communication is key. And the last thing that I did not like is the whole situation at the party. Alright, here's the thing. If it's family night, first of all, and this the three of us, and we decide to go to a party, and I leave to go get you drinks, come back, you guys are upstairs having sex. You have ditched me first, because it's supposed to be us three, but you turned it into y'all. So I thought that Alice was justified in her being upset. At the same time, I was just like, Feeny, you can't just expect her, like Alice said, you can't expect me to always wait around for you and Ryan to come back to me, because you two are going to be getting married soon. You're going to be starting a relationship together, and your guys are not going to want me living with you. We can still be friends, but it's not going to be the exact same dynamic as it used to be. So that was another one of those things when it came to like relationships and like growing up aspect side of the story. But the point I'm trying to make is the fact that, and this is just one of my big pet peeves, when something happens in a book and one of the main characters decides not to tell the other characters, and it could have totally mitigated the whole situation and they would have not had like the huge blow up or the huge argument. Because never at all in the entire story is the fact that she got sexually harassed at this party brought up, right? We didn't find out this guy's name. There was like no police call. Takumi was kind of just like, I'm sorry you went through that, let's make it better. She never brought it up to Feeny and Ryan. It was kind of just like, oh, it happened, let's move on. It's like, whoa, hold on. I thought that that wasn't necessarily handled as well as it could have been. I didn't expect the author to like get like really in depth to that, but I felt like it was like thrown in there as a reason for her to be justified in leaving the party, and I was like, either address it or make it something not as drastic. So that was probably like my biggest pet peeve. So Takumi being like a perfect reactionist character, and the fact that there was like a sexual harassment scene and then it was kind of just like forgotten and out of the way after it happened. So those were like the two huge things that bothered me, which is why I got 4 out of 5 stars. But like I said, that's still a great score. It's still an amazing book, and I definitely do recommend that you guys read it. So this video is probably going to be a lot longer than I expected it to be, but you know what, I had a lot to say about this book because I really enjoyed it, and there was a lot of things that I liked reading in it, as you guys know because you guys watched the video, but you get the point. As I said in my confession video, I'm totally open to criticism on how to make my reviews better. Do you guys think that there are some things that I can, you know, change, or things that I could do to kind of improve how I do my book reviews? Because I'm open to constructive criticism on any level, and yeah. But thank you guys so much for sitting through this book review. I hope it was not as rambly and like going off on tangents as I think it is. I really hope that I stayed on point as much as possible, but knowing me, hot mess in progress. So anyways, that is all I have for you guys. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel for more content from moi, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!